Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon. Not exactly sure when you're watching this, but if you've gotten this far, we're so excited that you've signed up to receive the more in-depth and detailed version of Jackie's story. We're incredibly grateful that she is willing to share such meaningful and impactful information that will help so many people. So welcome to the power of prevention. We're really going to talk today about simple actions that lead to powerful outcomes. And I have, of course, myself of Inhale Exhale Health, and we also have Jackie and Claire, who you've met throughout this week. So we're going to dive right in. So first thing we want to do is where it all began. And this is where we're going to turn it over to Jackie to kind of kick off her story. And you'll hear from Claire and I on some elements of it that we wanted to share from different perspectives for everyone who we have on the recording, because prevention means something different to everybody. So take it away, Jackie.
Thanks, Nicole. I am so excited to be here to talk about prevention, especially in the month of October, because that's where it all began for me. As you can see here, I was just turning 52 years old. Here I am with my 3 daughters, doing something that we absolutely loved, and that was spending time out at Penn State with my 2 oldest, who were students there, going to football games. And what you don't see in this picture, but what you probably hear in my voice, is this day was extremely hard on me because it was the next day that I had to tell them that I was diagnosed with breast cancer. It was an extremely difficult thing to do. I was turning 52. There was no history of breast cancer in my family, and it really came out of the blue. So that really is where my journey started. But more importantly, it was the start of the questions of why did it happen to me? We were always an extremely active family. My husband and I were always exercising out on our bikes with friends, riding up and down the Jersey Shore. I always made it a point to try to ensure my family ate healthy. When the girls were little, I even started a fitness club at the elementary school because I thought it was so important to have the kids outside and realizing that being active was actually fun. But at the same time, they were working on their health and fitness. So, when I was diagnosed, it was a shock because I never, ever would have expected that it would have happened to me. But the statistics on breast cancer are very sobering once you actually start to get into the details. The facts are that 1 in 8 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer in her lifetime. But ironically, only 15% of breast cancers are genetic. So that means that 85% of breast cancers are not caused by our genes. So in learning all that I have along the way, I've come to the conclusion that 85% of the breast cancers out there are really because of our environment. The second thing that's very interesting is that there are 3.1 million breast cancer survivors in the US currently. And to me, that statistic means that we are getting extremely good at early detection, because we know that when breast cancer is detected early, it saves lives. So we are getting very good at early detection. However, we need to really start focusing on the discussion of prevention, because as we're going to talk about, prevention is very real, and we can accomplish a lot if we just do some simple things.
And Jack, just before we go on to the next slide, I really just wanted to call out this less than 15% of all breast cancers are genetic. And the three of us have really, really talked about this at length. And something that just came up for me is like, when you're diagnosed, it's almost like, let's just get me better. And let's not even worry about what caused it. And because this statistic is so low, in the sense of there's just a low number that can tie a genetic influence into actually getting the diagnosis, it really feels like it's lost on us, this whole conversation we're trying to have around what is that other 85%. And I just feel it's so important to hone in on this statistic, because when people are so in the reactive mode, that prevention conversation, rightfully so, gets lost. And yeah.
You're right, Nicole. It does get lost. And the reason it gets lost is because traditional medical doctors go to school and learn how to treat disease. And that's what their focus is on. So when you're diagnosed with a disease like breast cancer, you're going to traditional medical doctors to be cured, right? So that's their job, and that's what they've been schooled in. What they don't learn in medical school is how to prevent disease. There's not a big focus on that. And that's where the shift kind of has to happen, I believe.
Totally. And this to me is the perfect segue into your mission to really taking a minute to really just think about the whole picture and figure out what that alternative is. So this is a great way to segue into how you got started.
Well, and the way I got started was I was very fortunate. I was invited to a detoxifying your home event. And it was about 6 months after I was diagnosed, and I had been through the surgeries to have the double mastectomy. And so I was still kind of in the middle of, my treatment. And I thought, okay, I need to start to learn how to detoxify my home, because if my girls are ever going to be um, protected or successful in not getting breast cancer, I need to start learning and asking questions. So when I was invited to this event, I was all in. But the most eye-opening thing that I learned this night was that there are so many toxins and chemicals that we grow up with in our everyday lives that are extremely harmful to our health. And it's, um, you know, detergents, laundry detergents, cleaning products, bleach, things like that. And I am just so fortunate to have been introduced to Claire Broderick, who we're going to have come on now and talk about some of this. But this was really the turning point, and the things that made me not only become aware of the environment and how it affects us, but really open the door to asking all these questions that I've come to ask, and we're talking about now.
Absolutely. I'm sure Claire's chomping at the bit. Take it away, girlfriend. This is your time to shine.
Oh, well, I think, thank you, Nicole. Your mission at Inhale Exhale Health and helping educate people to empower, especially younger people, to empower each and every one of us to make choices that benefit our health and wellness and prosperity is amazing. And Jackie and Next Gen Fitness and her mission to take what could be considered, one of the worst pieces of news that you could ever get, a breast cancer diagnosis, and turn it into something beyond herself. While she's taking care of herself, she's taking care of her children, and she's really out there. And this is such a great example today on her birthday, sharing her time with us to hear her story from her heart about things that hopefully people can take away. So I'm just so pleased to be here, and I thank both of you. You're both such warriors and wonderful advocates for health. And I couldn't be more pleased to be part of this. Jackie came to my Healthy Home Detox event that I had put on in conjunction with We Forum, which is a nonprofit that I'm a part of here in New Jersey. And basically it's about empowering people, educating people to make simple changes that can change the trajectory of their life and their children and the community. And the thing that Jackie and I talked about after that struck her was the cleaning products, as she mentioned. And, you know, we get so used to what is like technological improvements and industrial breakthroughs and great commercials about stain proofing and fragrance lasting for a week and removing your worst stains in 30 seconds. And all of that sounds wonderful to the consumer and to all of us that have to, you know, take care of a home, which is pretty much most everybody is involved in that. But there's so many things that because of the way our country has formulated regulations around safety and industrial chemicals, there's really not much between those chemicals and their potential harms and us. And to break it down and to keep it really simple, and so where people can make changes, is to just, these are 4 things to look out for that are part of what you know, modern cleaning products have and help us do things really quick, but they're all organic chemicals that can really wreak havoc with our body's systems. So we're overloading ourselves with things. And the fact that Jackie recognized that and we talked afterwards and she was ready for a change, that was so impressive. And she got to it. And I think window cleaning was one of the first things she said to me is, I'm having a party and I used the window cleaning material. It was great. Like, so, you know, they work. You can find safe products that work.
Absolutely. And I got a little happy there going on to the various changes that Jackie made, but the cleaning swaps is something that we're going to get a little bit in more detail into later on. But I just want to transition at a high level to the initial changes that you made, Jackie, with the cleaning swaps, and really what you were still faced with as you were starting to make these changes, which were helping, but it wasn't quite cutting it.
Right. After I mean, Claire made it really easy because she actually said, you know what, just take all your cleaning products that we know are not good, put them in the garage and try all these new ones. And that's what I did. So that was very simple. But it was about 6 months after that. So it took about a year for me to go through all my surgeries and treatment. And after that, I was finally cleared to go back to the gym and get back to my normal life, which I was so excited about. But what I found was I just could not get my energy back. I was going to the gym and coming home and taking a nap, and it was not normal. And it was very frustrating. And it was around that time that Claire had called to check in on me and see how I was doing. And we talked about nutrition and how important foundational nutrition is, and how there's so many things in our environment and our food supply that really create problems with getting the foundational nutrition you need. So it was at that point in time that I decided to really focus on my nutrition for a month. And you know, I had been one of those people that would go to the doctor every year, get my blood taken, and everything would come back great. And she'd say, oh, you know, your vitamin D level's low. And I'm sure 90% of us get that. So I'd go out and get the vitamin D from the store and take it. And, you know, I didn't know if it was working or not working. And then I'd fall off and not take it. So at this point in time, I decided, you know what, I'm going to dedicate myself to my nutrition for 1 month. And that was to do a healthy cleanse for a week, focusing on eating fruits and vegetables, and then starting on day 8, having a protein shake and taking a vitamin strip. And I'm telling you, within that first week, I started to feel the change. I started to feel my energy come back. And by the end of the month, I literally was feeling close to back to my normal self, which was which was incredible, and which is, what I had worked so hard to get to after this whole year. So it really opened my eyes as to the importance of this foundational nutrition that our bodies so need.
Totally. And Claire, I definitely want to hear your perspective, because it's funny, as Claire was checking in on you, Jackie, initially the conversation started with cleaning swaps. But Claire, can you just touch on the relationship between what's going on around our bodies and then really what's happening inside our bodies? You're privy to this information about the impact, the negative impact that these really, really harmful cleaners have on our body, and why complementing it with nutrition is so critical.
Yeah, thank you. It's huge. And we're really focusing on breast cancer right now. Jackie's story is centered on that. That's how her environment showed up in disease in her body. But everyone's body's different. Our genetic makeups are different. What might go wrong is different. We're also unique. And what is really at the heart of this is all the things that we surround ourselves with: the air we breathe, the water we drink, the products we put on our skin, our body, those we use around the house, the furniture we sit on. The list goes on. Everything in our environment, including our food, has detrimental effects if it has many of these industrial chemicals part of it. So there's two parts of it. Our food is less nutritious than it ever was because of industrial farming. And we are masses of people. We have to be aware of that. We have to produce food for millions of people. But in that process, the nutrient value of any of our food has gone down. So any of those sub-trace minerals and those, the things that seem to be subtle, not your vitamin D, but trace minerals, we're not getting. That's a big deal. So that's important. What's dangerous in our food is that we've got chemicals that are being used on our food products. So our plants and our agriculture, grass, for example, wheat, things that we eat directly or that animals that we eat. That's being coated and sprayed with many organic chemicals for weed killing and pesticides. Those things have started to wreak havoc on all of our systems as well. So a couple of places where we really have trouble and where things can start to go wrong is in our digestional tract. We start getting leaky gut because our body is reacting to these things that are causing our gut cells to separate and allow more things into our bloodstream. When things get into our bloodstream, they can go to our liver and our kidneys. And those things are our main detoxification organs. And if they get clogged up with fatty things, they can't do their job. So as we then breathe in some more things and so forth, we've got organs that are just working at subpar. So we have twofold. We need to supplement because we're not getting the nutrition we need from our food sources that typically we would be. But we also need to supplement to sort of help our body clear these things out that are just coming into our environment. You're sitting in your environment, Jackie's in hers. My environment travels with me wherever me and my body go. Same for you guys. So if you're walking on a street in a city and there's car exhaust, or you're in an office building, or you're taking a walk, that's your environment. So that's what's missing and why we need to supplement. And it's a complicated thing, but the closer we stay to more natural choices, whole foods, like Jackie said, she started for that week with whole foods, plants, and fruit and vegetables. And then we supplement in a way that we can let our cells work. We can really elevate our health and wellness. So I don't know, Jackie, how did you feel after that month? Like you did that month, where were you? You said you feel great, but how was that, in fact, impressing upon you, a comparison between before and then that time when you started that process?
Well, I really did feel great, and it just opened my eyes to the importance of making sure what you're putting in your body is fueling it properly. And we're going to kind of tie it all together now and fast forward um, to the next phase in my journey, which has happened, which really is, you see me here, it was in November of 2019. So almost about a year ago. Um, I was 2 years out from diagnosis and probably a year out from my final treatments and surgeries. And here I am, and it was around Thanksgiving. My girls were all home. We had a wonderful time. Um, this was the time where they had been home because in September, my youngest had gone off to school. So it was really the first time we were all back together again. And it was a great time in my life, but something was off. And when they all left and went back to their jobs and school, and I was alone, I I was struggling, and I knew it over the few months before this, but it became very evident when everyone left after Thanksgiving that I was really suffering from depression. It was pretty severe. I was not able to get out of bed that Monday after Thanksgiving. And I was so fortunate because I have a great team of doctors. And even though they're all these are all in the traditional medical world, they actually helped me get to the root cause of the depression itself. And what I had found out was that after being on tamoxifen for 2 years, um, to help ensure that I never got a reoccurrence of breast cancer, I found out that I was suffering from one of the more severe side effects of tamoxifen, which was depression. So it was at that point in time that I decided I needed to figure out how I would never take tamoxifen again because I couldn't live with the depression, and ensure that I really would never have another reoccurrence of breast cancer. So here's the traditional medical doctors telling me take tamoxifen because you don't want to have a reoccurrence. But I can't live like that because I was suffering from one of the severe effects of being on tamoxifen. So through this process, I just kept asking questions. And I am so fortunate because it led me to a functional medicine doctor, Dr. Brous. And just to give you an idea of what functional medicine doctors do is they look at you and say, okay, your body's not operating at 100% efficiency because you have a disease. And my disease, it happened to be breast cancer. Other people suffer from different kinds of diseases like autoimmune diseases and things like that. But mine happened to be breast cancer. So he said, what we're going to do is we're going to run some tests. A lot of them were simple blood tests, very comprehensive blood tests that looked at how my body was processing nutrients. So how it was absorbing minerals and nutrients from the food I ate. And what became very evident was that my body wasn't processing nutrients properly. And that led to this other test, which is on the screen now. And this is called an environmental pollutant panel. And this is a simple urine test. And what this does is it finds out and measures the toxic load in your body. And as you can see, there's a couple circles on this graph. But in 4 or 5 of the categories, my toxic load from the chemicals I've been exposed to over a lifetime is extremely high. It's up over the 90th percentile. And what the doctor explained to me was when your toxic load, all these chemicals that build up in your fat cells, because that's where they reside in your body over a lifetime, what happens is they get so high, they start to tip the balance and affect your immune system. So my immune system was becoming impaired because my toxic load was so high. And therefore, the disease that I wound up developing was breast cancer. So in trying to figure out how this affected me, this is what it came down to. And I called Claire once again because this is her background and she was so instrumental in helping me understand this. And understand really how I got all these toxins in my body to begin with.
And Claire, what these words, they're very, some of them are big, some of them are some that we've heard of, parabens, I've definitely heard in my skincare and things like that. But what does this mean for us? Because I know that some of these things are really intimidating. So can you just explain a little bit of how this impacts us?
Absolutely. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of environmental pollutants that over time, scientists and research facilities and environmental medical groups, there's so many amazing organizations over the world that are really looking to see how these things, which are used in everyday processes, affects human health. But when Jackie shared this report, I was like, oh boy, yeah, you've got some goodies here, but she's saying, look, I'm reading the report and it says, these are products like the styrene that's involved in the petrochemical industry. But when you go, further into it, styrene is used in many plastic products. It's used in craft products. It really is in part of so many of our industrial appliances. So styrene's out there all over the place, and especially in automotive emissions. So anyone who lives in an area where there are cars, styrene is in the air, right?
Wow.
So, we were breaking it down. We had a long call about this, and I said, okay, you love bike riding, you still want to bike ride, but how do you manage, getting these emissions or things that kind of pull into your body? You'll have to think about some things and maybe make some choices or think about what time of day you ride or where you ride, right? Toluene is interesting. It's in paints and it's in synthetic fragrance. It's in nail polish. It's in cigarette smoke. It's in automotive emissions. So toluene is in so many of the things we use. So again, for beauty products, recommending people find those cleaner, less, there'll be 5 free or 7 free, nail polishes, or do your own nails. Try not to go to the salon as much. I mean, there are things that are just kind of pounding us all the time. Find fragrance-free products, because these things our body cannot get rid of, and they mimic estrogen. So there's Jackie's issue, right? She had estrogen-driven breast cancer. Not everyone's going to get what Jackie got, but it may show up in other ways. This is not the only thing. Phthalates, that word is always like kind of tough to pronounce, but that is a plasticizer. It's an additive that actually makes plastic more flexible. So think of all the things we touch or use or put our food in that are somewhat flexible. So everything that plastic touches that then goes into your body or into your mouth or on your skin, phthalates are all over the place. Hard to get around in our plastic world these days. And the last one, parabens, you mentioned, you see a lot. It's an antimicrobial. It's like it preserves things. It's used in foods. It's used in pharmaceutical products. It's used in our beauty products to keep their shelf life longer. But this, again, parabens have been found very strongly to correlate with cancers and other autoimmune and chronic diseases, because our body, where we're used to having our functions do its thing, our enzymes and our proteins and our metabolism systems, working a certain way, these things mimic other components that our body needs. So it really, you can see here how overwhelming this could be, but how powerful that Jackie got this set of results. It's really the root cause of why she got sick, and possibly why so many other people get sick too.
Yeah, and Claire, just to make a point before you jump in, Nicole.
Yeah.
One of the points that I want to make is not everyone needs to go out and have this report run.
Right.
Clearly, it's been instrumental in my journey. But the point that we want to make is that these chemicals and toxins exist in everyone's environment. And if we can make small changes to eliminate them or reduce them, then we are making huge advances in in our health of ourselves and our families.
Well said, Jackie. That's exactly right. And you're putting yourself out there and showing your test results, and you're saying, this is everyone. I'm not, I'm a typical person, and let's try to avoid these things.
It's so true. And it's so interesting just from my perspective. Of course, I'm so grateful to have both of you in my life to kind of dialogue around all this stuff. But there was a period when I was still living in New York where I was not right. I was not myself. I didn't have a, thank God, cancer diagnosis or anything that detrimental, but this really all is under the same umbrella. We're so used to not feeling good, whether it's a diagnosis that forces us to look at what's happening, or whether it's something that we've become so good at managing over time. It's just become a way of life. And this, again, I've been so lucky to talk about this with you both over so much time, but this image, for all intents and purposes, could represent someone just living their everyday life. Maybe it's not even that detrimental diagnosis or something that was brought to light. So Jackie and Claire, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this slide and how this chemical exposure like really just changed everything.
I mean, I just think it's, looking at this slide, you can actually get overwhelmed with it all, but it's very simple. We live in a very toxic world. So it's just a matter of education and then making small actionable changes that really do make a significant change in your life. And that's what this conversation is all about.
Totally.
Absolutely. And that's what, we need to drive ourselves to, give ourselves the grace that this isn't our bodies that are going wrong, whatever your issue is.
Yeah.
My sister 10 years ago passed away from glioblastoma, which is a absolutely devastating brain cancer, which has no cure and can take people within a matter of months or a few years. And she passed away in 3 months of her diagnosis.
Wow.
That really got me thinking, this is a healthy person who lost her life with a cancer that's almost completely environmentally driven. And I've known 4 or 5 other people in the course of my life that died from the same thing. And it made my head scratch. So as an environmental engineer, building hospitals and schools and safe, clean environments for people getting well, it got me turning, like, why aren't we doing something in our own homes?
Wow.
So, we're driven to this, but the answers are really simple and straightforward. So this little set of guidelines is, we can't be healthy only with diet and exercise, and that's okay. Those are great places to start and absolutely essential for good preventative health and wellness. We have to try to address the toxic exposures first. So otherwise we're spinning on the hamster wheel. If we try to detox and remove stuff from our bodies, but yet live in the environment where we're reabsorbing it, it's like an insane process. So try to find out those things. Cleaning products, great place to start. And then ask yourself, like, does this contribute or reduce my toxic exposure? Now that's like kind of science talk. You could say, could I reach out to Claire, Nicole, or Jackie and ask her a question about this or that? Is this okay? Can I use this? We're here to help. You don't need to go it alone. And detoxing our bodies, like Jackie said, one of the first things she did when she realized that maybe something internally needed to be cleaned out. And then cleaning up your home so you don't reabsorb it as much or at such great rates. And your food and your nutrition, we can all do this, and we should, because our health, our children's health, and the health of our community and country and the globe is truly at stake here.
So true. And we just wanted to add this in. This slide is not to scare anybody. This is really just to take a pause and for all of us to take a moment to think about where we're at in our lives, in our health journeys. we are blessed to have Jackie share her story. And really, I've been thinking about, thank God it's not me who has to share this story. And thank God Jackie is willing to put herself out there to add value for so many people based on something really, really impactful that she went through. So, what we're talking about here is any chronic illness, like Claire mentioned, that her family has gone through. Obviously, we're talking about breast cancer specifically with Jackie, but the surroundings that we spend time in could be killing us. And again, not to scare you, it's just to inspire change, simple changes that we really want to support people in doing because of what Jackie had to go through and what other people we know had to go through so that we can support people on their journey to living healthier and cleaner lives. So perfect segue into our power prevention roadmap, which is something that Claire supported Jackie in following to a T. You'll see here, this is most of what we talked about, but starting with looking at eliminating toxins, detoxing our home. What are the sources of those toxins? Putting all of our cleaning products in a bucket, getting them out of the house, really seeing and experiencing what the swap to clean products can actually do and impact. And Claire, I'll have you just kind of touch on this in a little bit more detail, but to me, I've made some of these changes and the swaps are extremely simple. So just want to encourage people to go into it, understanding it's a little overwhelming, but go into it knowing that there are simple solutions.
Absolutely. Any of these steps start to mitigate those exposures, create a healthier environment, and our bodies respond. Our bodies are absolutely miraculous. There are some great studies about when you change to organic food, your bodies, the pollutants and the chemicals in your bloodstream reduce within a matter of weeks. So, this is not desperate plea or something that's not going to work. These things are super effective, and our bodies are really, when they're in working like they're supposed to, they do a wonderful job eliminating some of these toxins from our world. And from our bodies. So these are just a bunch of simple things to do. We've talked about the best and first one to make. I really think it's the most impactful. But if anyone ever has any questions or wants to know how to, some of my top 10 favorite things to do a healthy home detox, I've got a takeaway sheet and we can provide that to people as well. And maybe that can, spur their journey along.
And
totally.
The one thing before you jump in, Nicole, the one thing that we didn't touch on was, this high toxic load that I have in my body. It resides in my fat cells, and the only way really to reduce that load is to sweat it out. So that is a process that I'm going through right now. And it means I go and sit in an infrared sauna twice a week for an hour each time. And it's a simple process. But one that I'm really excited to, get the results of in the next couple of weeks to find out how this toxic load has come down. So I just want you to know that even though these chemicals are building up in our system, there are ways to reduce them and ensure that your body gets back onto a healthy track.
Absolutely. Such a good point, Jack. And Claire, you mentioned it too. There are so many other tips and ways that we can all support you from different perspectives on what has been proven to work, what's working for us in our day-to-day lives. So definitely know that this power prevention roadmap has more legs, but this is really where we wanted to inspire people to start. And on that note, we really want, the whole point of this series and conversation is to actually practice what we're preaching, to actually take action, to lean into prevention wherever you are in your health journey, making the immediate and simple changes and swaps that actually have shown to positively impact the environments that we live in. So Jack, if you want to just touch on a couple of these that impacted you, and then we have one more slide where we want to go into detail on what's available to you watching here.
Yeah, on just from the cleaning product standpoint, on the upper right-hand side is the products in the Get Clean kit. And it is a comprehensive kit that literally you can take all your cleaning products from laundry to kitchen cleaning products and bathroom cleaning products and bleaches, put them in the garage and just replace them with this kit. It's environmentally friendly because they're all concentrated. So they go a long way and they're very cost effective and they work. The bottom right slide is all the items that are in that nutrition program that I was talking about. It's the 7-day healthy cleanse, along with a vitamin strip and then protein shakes for the rest of the month. So these were the two things that were very instrumental in getting my body back to where it was supposed to be. The books that are listed here are just books that, either Claire had given me or I came across, and they are extremely helpful in explaining in detail the toxins in our lives and how they affect us and how we can eliminate them in a lot more detail. So I would highly recommend any one of those books, if not all of them, if you're the type of person that would like a lot more information.
This is something, again, the books and the resources, definitely something that we can share, but we just want to end on this note here. Prevention is a verb. This is what we're trying to implement in the lives of everyone that we know, people that we don't even know yet. And we really, really encourage you, if you took anything from this presentation, please connect with the person who sent you this recording of Jackie's amazing story, so that we can offer something special for you if you decide to take the steps to make these simple swaps and incorporate the products that transform Jackie's life into your world. You'll see 2 additional key players in Jackie's journey, which we would need days to go into, but it's something that we love to talk about. It's a conversation that we love to participate in. And I just want to thank Jackie and Claire, but leave you with the thought that there is a solution and we're here to support you along the way. And we are so grateful and thank you all for watching, and we will talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.
Bye, thank you.